Hi everyone, it's Laura here from Making Cards is Fun and welcome to another card making video tutorial. Today I'm joining Justine Hovey for her 50,000 YouTube subscribers celebration video hop. This hop is focused on card making techniques. All of the participants are creating at least 2 cards featuring their favorite card making technique. That means that there are over 50 card examples in this hop. I decided to focus on distress ink blending for my video. However, I am also sharing tips and tricks on easy Copic coloring and creating a lawn fawn reveal wheel card. If you would like to learn more techniques, I recommend signing up for Justine's Technique Resource Binder class. I have a link to the class in my video description below. Of course, there are prizes to be won. Justine is giving away 5 $50 gift certificates to scrapbook.com or Ellen Hudson. These will be given out randomly throughout the hop, so the more videos you watch and comment on, the better chances of winning. Please check out my video description for a link to the next video in the hop, a linked supply list, a blog post with all of the information on the hop, and of course a link to Justine's Technique class. Without further ado, let's get started on my cards. I'm starting out by stamping images from the Spooky Village stamp set from Lawn Fawn on Nina Solar White cardstock using Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I love to use a Lawn Fawn acrylic block because they are so easy to hold, they are nice and thick, and they also come with a grit. I also use a Lawn Fawn stamp chamois to clean my clear stamps. For the pumpkin, I am using YR09, YR04, and YR02. For the little windows, I'm using Y04 and Y000, and then for the moon and stars, I'm using Y19, Y18, and Y13. These are Copic sketch markers, by the way. For the cloud and the little ghost, I went in with the BG10 marker to add a little bit of shading. And then for the roofs of these little houses, I'm using N6, N4, and N2. For the actual houses, I'm using N4, N2, and N1. As you can see, these neutral grays work so well together because all of the colors I use are pretty close to each other. So as you can see, I'm using 4, 2, and 1, which makes it really easy to blend. For the tree, I'm using E27, E57, and E55. And now that I colored all of my stamps, it's time to cut them out using the coordinating dies, which makes it just really easy to cut out all of these images at once. I'm using the reveal wheel die cuts today to create a fun interactive die. I'm going to die cut the card front twice, and for one of the pieces I'm going to click in the little window and then I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine. I'm using Nina Solar White cardstock. So as you can see, I die cut that card front once more without the little window. Then I also die cut the wheel and the wheel base. To decorate my front of my reveal wheel card, I decided to use some black cardstock. I'm going to use the card front die once more to do some partial die cutting. You could also just cut some cardstock to the same size as the reveal wheel card, but I wanted the stitched edges to line up perfectly. So I used some washi tape to hold that down while I ran it through my die cutting machine. And now I'm using just a simple stitched line to die cut the bottom of my card. Now let's move on to my favorite card making technique ever, which is Distress Oxide ink blending. For my first blend, I'm starting out with Faded Jeans Oxide ink, and then I am going in with Wilted Violet. For my first blend, I'm using inexpensive makeup brushes, and then for my second blend, I will be using regular Tim Holtz or Ranger mini ink blending tools. So after applying the wilted violet, I went back in with the faded jeans just to create a nice gradient and to make sure that I wasn't left with any harsh lines. I like to clean my makeup brush in between switching colors by just rubbing it onto my steam chamois from Fawn, and then I like to dry that a little bit with a clean tissue because you don't want your brush to be wet or damp when using it with the Distress Oxide inks. For my next color, I'm using Picked Raspberry, and then I just went back in with the Wilted Violet to create a nice blend. So notice that I'm just always going back and forth between all of the colors, and I just keep blending until I am happy with the result. For this orange shade, I'm using Ripe Persimmon, and finally I'm going in with Wild Honey. So I've just really been investing in these Distress Oxide ink pads because I just love to use them so much. I use them on almost all of my cards to create my own backgrounds because I just really like to play around with the colors and create different blends and gradients. For the base of my reveal wheel, I used the Wilted Violet ink to add some color to it. And then for my sentiment banner, I will be using the Happy Halloween sentiment from the Spooky Village theme set from Fawn, some Versamark ink, and then I will be sprinkling on Wow Opaque Bright White Embossing Powder. I prepped my cardstock using kitchen flour to remove any static cling and to make sure I am left with a really nice, clean and crisp embossed image. I adhered my sentiment piece to my reveal wheel card using my ATG from Scotch, and then I am using foam squares in Tonic Studio Deluxe adhesive to adhere all of the images. I like to use my EK Success tweezers to position everything perfectly. I am using this little stencil to stamp the sentiments for my reveal wheel. So it's just really easy to line that up, and then I just like to use some washi tape to hold that down in place. Now that I have my stencil on there, it's time to stamp the sentiments. I'm using the Reveal Wheel Holiday Sentiment stamp set from Fawn to stamp a couple of words that match the Halloween theme. For my second card, I actually combined some sentiments from the original Reveal Wheel Sentiment stamp set with the holiday themed stamp set. So I'm sprinkling on Opaque Bright White Embossing Powder, and now I'm going to take the main wheel and put my brad through, and then I'm just going to close that up. And once I have that, it's time to apply some foam squares around the brad. I'm using these tiny little foam squares. I believe these are called, or the brand is called Scrapbook Adhesives, and these are my favorite ones. I'm lining up that main wheel until I don't see those embossed lines. So there are some embossed lines on there. You can't really see it on camera, but you can see it clearly in real life. So I went ahead and lined that up, and then as you can see, you now have your little reveal wheel cards. Just going to stamp a sentiment above the little reveal wheel portion using Versamark ink, sprinkling on my white embossing powder, and then of course I am heat setting it. And I had so much fun creating these cards. I normally don't create a lot of Halloween cards, but this year I decided to challenge myself and create a few. I used the large stitched rectangle zacket set from Fawn and the Spiffy Speckles paper pad to die cut a beautiful piece of pattern paper. Then I also used a reveal wheel add-on die cut set to create a nice frame for my little sentiment piece over there. I'm stamping the sentiment that says "Turn me," so the recipient knows to turn the wheel. So I'm using the same foam squares to adhere my finished reveal wheel card to the white piece, and then I'm using some more foam adhesive to adhere the finished piece to my note card. And that finishes up the first card in this video. So now I will be creating a second card, another Halloween themed card. I went ahead and stamped images from the Happy Howloween stamp set from Fawn to my white cardstock, and then I am coloring them using the Copic sketch markers again. For the skirt, I am using RV14, RV13, and RV11. And then for the dogs, I'm using E55, E27, and E57. I like to start with the lightest color, then use the darkest shade, move on to the mid-tone, and finally blend everything together with the lightest color. But for these dogs, I went back in with my mid-tone color and then used the lightest shade once again just to blend everything out. And this is a really easy technique, especially with these kind of images. And I had so much fun coloring and dressing up these little dogs because I think they are simply adorable. For my second blend, I am starting out with picked raspberry, and notice that I am using the Tim Holtz blending tools over here instead of the inexpensive makeup brushes. Next, I'm using ripe persimmon, and as you can see, these blending tools work perfectly fine as well. But if I really have to choose between the blending tools and the makeup brushes, I would pick the makeup brushes because in my opinion, it's just a little bit easier and also faster to achieve a really nice, soft, kind of airbrush looking background. It's really up to you. You have to try it out yourself to see which tool you prefer to use. So finally, I went in with the fossilized amber, and just like I did with the makeup brushes, I'm constantly switching between all of the colors to create a really nice blend. It took me a little bit longer to create the blend using the blending tools, but overall, these came together quite quickly. I did some more partial die cutting, like I did with the black piece of cardstock. This time I used white cardstock and then I used the grassy border die from Fawn to create a grassy border. I'm using Mode Lawn Distress Oxide ink first, and then I'm going in with black soot just to darken that up a little bit since I wanted my card to be a night scene. So of course the grass wouldn't be bright green. So I'm just mixing these colors. I used the Village Border die from Fawn to create this really cute background. I wanted it to look like the lights were burning inside the house, so I'm just going around that house using my pencil just to trace that shape, and then I'm loosely cutting that. I'm not doing it exactly or really precisely, just to have that shape, and then I can adhere that yellow cardstock to the back of my village border, and then it will look like the lights are on in the houses, which I think is just so adorable. I'm using the Tonic Studios Deluxe adhesive to adhere them because it just gives me a little bit more wiggle room to wiggle that piece of paper around and to line it up perfectly. So I'm going to adhere that to my reveal wheel card front using that liquid adhesive, and then I'm going to adhere my grassy border to this card using some foam tape. Then I also adhered all of these images using more foam tape, and then to finish that off, I'm going in with a clear Wink of Stella glitter marker to add a really nice amount of sparkle. And I absolutely adore this glitter marker. I've said it many times before, but this is my favorite. I'm also using Tonic Studios Crystal Glaze to add a little bit of extra dimension and shine. I think that the glitter markers with the crystal glaze just work really well together. Finally, I'm using White Blizzard and Orange Soda glitter drops to add even more sparkle and just to add a little bit extra detail to that background. I used the same supplies to finish off the first reveal wheel card in this video, so just letting you know. Okay, so there you go. That finishes up my 2 reveal wheel cards featuring my favorite card making technique ever. Here are all the little words that you can see when you turn the wheel. I think that these turned out really cute. That finishes up my video. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and click the notification bell. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.